I'm sorry to throw you in the middle of that. They were determined to wait for you to finish off the last award there. So I didn't know that we were doing that. But that's fine. Improvise. Well, yeah, we told you they wanted to back there and finish it. They heard you were coming, so they said, well, we're going to wait for him to have the last one. So this is fabulous.
Well, let's have a picture right here. Of course.
This on? Yeah.
That's it.
He's doing a little everything. Everything. He doesn't know how much he's going to do. Yeah, look at it.
Nothing is flashy.
We're at our opening about 7 hours ago. Yes, 7 hours ago. So thank you for coming back after a good day at work, and we're very, very happy to have the Minister of Industry, Jim Prentice. He was scheduled to be here on February, but had to cancel at the last second. But he made it here finally during the election when it really counts. So thank you for dropping by. It's a pleasure to have you. I know you are going to many different events and doing a cross-city tour today, but we appreciate the time that you took to stop in here. So on behalf of all of us, thank you.
Well, it's great to be here, and I've just come from, I was in Alberta to open my own campaign, so it's up and running, and I campaigned very hard for 3 days in Alberta. Steve knows where my riding is. And then I've come to Ontario to help out. So I was in Barrie yesterday, and I was down in St. Catharines this morning. I'm going to Windsor tomorrow, and then visiting a couple of the ridings in Toronto over the course of the day. And certainly, I don't know if I'm the first minister to be here with you, but I won't be the last. There will be lots of others who are going to be here. So it's great to be here to help Duncan and to meet your campaign team. I believe in the Conservative Party as a family. I've been involved in politics for 35 years around the Conservative Party and one of the legacy parties. And so it's wonderful to be here and see young people and people from all walks of life taking part, because I believe this is all cumulative, and when we work together with fine candidates like Duncan, we just build a stronger family. And so I'm excited about the campaign. Everywhere I go, I see really, really positive signs. You see all the polls in the newspapers. We don't, none of this turns on a single poll, but I think you'd agree that all of the trend lines go in the right direction. So it's immensely exciting. And that really, my friends, is a result of one thing, and that's leadership. It's a result of the leadership of the Prime Minister. And you know, the real issue in this election is leadership in uncertain economic times. Because as the economy south of us, the great U.S. economy south of our border, has started to soften, it's had some effect on Canada. And so what we need is more of the kind of stewardship that we've had in our country, and we've seen from the Prime Minister. And I have the good fortune as the Minister of Industry to travel a lot and to visit other countries, and I can tell you that Canada is really the envy of all of the other industrial democracies in the world. And that's because our unemployment rate is at a 33-year low. The debt levels, the public debt that we have in Canada has been reduced down almost to 25% of our GDP, which is levels we haven't seen in Canada since the 1960s. We have stable interest rates in our country. We're seeing business investment here, and really on all levels, whether you talk about corporate tax or consumer tax or personal income tax, we're reducing our taxes to levels that we haven't seen at in Canada in generations. And so very significant personal income tax reductions, very significant corporate tax reductions. By 2012, we'll actually have the lowest corporate income tax levels anywhere in the G7. So really what all that is about is building a sound framework for a strong economy and making sure that we can carry on with that kind of an economy in uncertain economic times. So I know that that here in your riding that's important, and I know this will be a hotly contested riding. I should just tell you a bit as well about, I know that there's a very large Asian and Chinese community here in your riding in Markham Uniondale. My riding in Calgary, Calgary Centre North, actually has the largest Chinese population, I think outside of Vancouver and Toronto. I think it's the third largest community in Canada. We have a very large Chinatown in Calgary, and I'm extremely close to the Chinese community in our city. And you know, I go back to the time a few years ago, before we formed government, when there was a bill put forward that dealt with the Chinese head tax, and some of the steps that we took in opposition to make sure that that particular bill wasn't passed because it wasn't an appropriate piece of legislation. But in the days that followed after we formed a government, I think one of the highlights of our government were the steps that were taken by Prime Minister Harper with respect to the Chinese head tax. And, I can tell you I was in the House of Commons, in particular on the, and I was involved through that period, but in particular on the day of the apology from the Prime Minister. I was sitting right beside him in the House of Commons as he made the apology, and it still actually sends tingles up my spine to describe it. But the Prime Minister, it was fairly early in our mandate, he gave an apology, talked about the importance of the Chinese community to our country, the multicultural nature of our country, and how we've all come here, with the exception of our Aboriginal Canadians. We've all come here from some other place. And he described the terrible circumstances of the Chinese head tax, and then offered an apology. And it was probably, I would say, the other emotional moment was the apology recently relating to the residential school issue, which I was quite involved in. But those two moments were undoubtedly the most moving moments that our House of Commons has seen in the time that I've been elected, and that is going on 6 years at this point. And so the Prime Minister delivered the apology, and then everyone in the House applauded. But at that moment, I'll just tell you something that happened. Up in the upper balcony, there was an individual. He was pretty close to 100 years old. He had served Canada in the military. He was dressed in his military outfit with all of his Canadian medals. And after the Prime Minister delivered the apology, this gentleman, he was a Chinese fellow, stood up, and he had someone on either side of him to hold him because he's up in the balcony, and it's a bit dangerous when you stand up there. But he had someone on either side of him with a hold of his elbows, and he stood up and he saluted the Prime Minister. And folks, there was not a single person in the House of Commons that did not have tears in their eyes. And I know because I was standing there right beside the Prime Minister, and it was, I've heard colleagues who have been elected a lot longer than I say it was the most moving thing that they have ever seen in our House of Commons. So not enough is said about that. Not enough is said about that side of our government, the compassionate side.
I have that tape, by the way.
That
was a special time.
It was a very special time. And you know, we're a government that has done so many compassionate, moving things to draw this country together. As I mentioned, the residential school apology. I can't go anywhere in Canada and meet Aboriginal Canadians who don't talk about that. And it's as though the weight of the world was lifted off the shoulders of hundreds and hundreds of thousands of Canadians. The Air India inquiry, something that people talked about in this country for 15 years, but nobody did anything about it until our government was elected. The Chinese head tax issue. You can go on and on and on. And what it really fleshes out is the vision of a government that has not only been at the top of its game in terms of leadership and the fiscal issues, but also in terms of reaching out to Canadians from all walks of life to build this great, marvelous country of ours. And so we need to make sure that Duncan is there as part of this. We need to make sure that your riding, Markham Uniondale, is represented in the House of Commons so that we can carry on with that kind of work. And so I know there's lots of work ahead. There's lots of doors to be knocked on and signs to put up and all the sorts of things that you're doing in your riding. But we'll get there, and you will get there in this riding. And so I know that I may get back before the election's over, but I know especially on election night when I'm watching the television, I'm going to watch with interest Mark of Uniondale, and get to see Duncan Fletcher come up with a check mark beside his name.
I don't want you to forget the Armenian Community Center. The minister did right by us, the Prime Minister
Yes.
did right by us by recognizing the genocide. There's a few people here from Uniondale, Armenian Community Center.
We're grateful to
After
the
a
Prime
long
Minister.
time, after the Liberals never accepted, and conservative government came up and accepted the Armenian genocide.
First genocide of the century.
We're supporting Duncan, everybody, all Armenians in
That's a symbol of victory. So you and Duncan holding it. So can we face this way? You can go this way, so we'll have a
Symbol. Everybody's behind. Come on in.
You know what? I bet John McCown doesn't have one of these.
No,
Especially.
We don't want the government.
very good. Let's do a victory sign together then.
Take one more in.
One more?
I've with Paul. Okay. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Care.
Prime Minister.
Hello. Take care.